Hello, this is Professor John Bordeau at Kankakee Community College, and this is STEM Guitar, and we are fretting this week, and we are going to insert our frets. So our first step is to get a fret saw out. So this is a Stewart McDonald 20 thousandths, and what we're going to do is we're going to run this saw through the fret files no more than 2 strokes. One back, one forward, or forward and back, either or. But this saw is not wider than my slot, it's narrower, so it's only cutting out the bottom. And the reason why we're going and doing this is because we want to make sure any of our finish, like true oil, is out of that slot. And in our case, we had these little drill holes in here that we centered our fretboard on, not drill hole, but a wire brad. And so you want to just clean those slots out. And I've done them all already. And then we're going to take some rolled, I have a 10-inch diameter rolled, and it's cleaned with denatured alcohol. And I'm just going to start on the heel end, and I'm going to just measure about a 1/4 inch longer than the actual neck. And I'm going to cut a piece off, and I'm going to go down and place it in, and I'm going to just press it in with my thumbs to start with. I'll take a fret hammer and I'll tap it in usually 2 places. You don't need to pound it all the way down with a fret hammer because you'll squash the top of the crown of the fret. You really just want to get it seated down into it. Now, our next step is to put it into an arbor press. So I'm going to slide you around right here. And here we have an arbor press. And I'm actually going to take this and I'll set it. Now, I have a neck support here, cork line neck support. If I'm on the heel, I recommend starting with the heel first. I do the heel first because if you're going to screw up, students in particular, if they're going to screw up, you might as well have it down here on the heel where they rarely play, and let them get some use of doing the ones down here before we do, our 3, etc., our 1, 2, 3s, 4s. So all we do is we flip this thing over, right, so that the neck support is upside down for this. And then I place it in the arbor press, and I like to sit down because I don't have the best eyesight. So I am trying to take this neck press caul, and I'm trying to center right over the fret. And I kind of like to move around, look around because of my eyesight. Sucks getting old, by the way, right? And then this this arbor press has 1,000 pounds of force. So I prefer to do this with the fretboard glued onto the neck. I've had many students crack the fretboard with this, even though it's glued to the neck. So if you're just doing it on the fretboard itself, it's even worse, okay? So I'm warning you not to crank down on there like a super strength He-Man, right? I just want a nice steady push, and you'll see it squish down. And I like to get down low and look, and then I don't want to be bouncing on this lever on the arbor press. That's what really cracks it. Young lads tend to do that. And so when I take it out, I want to go and look at it at a low angle and see. The test you want to do is, can you get your fingernail underneath there? And that is a good test. If you can get a fingernail underneath there, it's too high. And if you look under there and you see space that's too high, you got to go and push it underneath the arbor press some more. Now, another thing that we can do to check beforehand, even though I use the arbor press, is we have a little piece of wire sometimes, and we can run it down in and make sure it goes down deep enough. The problem you'll have is, even though I ran this fret saw through, sometimes it doesn't go down all the way because there's not enough room, because you might have sanded your radius too much and there's not enough depth to the slot anymore. So sometimes we take a piece of fret and we take the tang off the fret and we use that as a testing a check before we press them in. So I'll just go through one at a time. And I also, when I roll these here, I actually like to trim off the last ½ inch, because when I roll them, the last ½ inch really doesn't get any radius to them. So by sticking it, by cutting it off and then sticking a little out past the edges, we know that we're not going to come up short. Okay, so people ask, why do we go like a ½ inch past here? I just don't want to be short. That's a huge major problem. So we just go a ½ inch over, and then once we get these all in here, we're going to take a pair of fret snippers. I got a Stumac fret snippers, and we're going to snip. Now, when you go to snip, I recommend that you don't pull up when you snip, because you're going to pull the fret wire out. And you could pull down, which might pull the other end up. I recommend going sideways, having this sideways here, all right? And that way there isn't no pulling or pushing down of the fret wire. So I do recommend when you go to snip that you use these. Don't use normal side cutters, because they don't get enough, they got to get right up to the edge of the fretboard here. So I wait until the end personally to do that. I put all the frets in with our arbor press. Now, if you don't have an arbor press, you can use a drill press, and you can put the caul into the drill press and use the drill press to go down. It works almost as well. And I do have a brand new one from Stumac here, an arbor press. I got 4 of them. And the new one is a little fancier, a little nicer, but I don't have a call for it at the moment, so I'm using one of the older ones. And so this is what our next step in the process of fretting is to insert our frets into the fret slots.